What is up? I'm Miguel Antonio, and you are listening to the Live and Create podcast. It's where I interview artists and entrepreneurs about what it means to live a great life and create great things. And before we jump into the podcast today, I'd love for you to check out my band, Run With It. Here's a clip from our song, One More Fight.
We can get free from our fear inside by staring down the night. A deeper breath and start to climb. One more step and one more fight. One more time. One more time. Open eyes and open sky.
If you like what you heard, make sure you check us out at Run With It Band, at Run With It Band, everywhere you follow people at, or go to runwithitband.net. It'll take you to all the different links you want to go to, and there'll be a little button you can click for booking information. Now for today's podcast.
The Live and Create podcast.
Yeah, where I grew up in Alberta, which is closest, I guess, to like Utah. It's like right over the border there. It was cold in the winter, like really, really cold.
That sounds
really
terrible.
dry, lots of snow, but it was sunny.
You're like, it made up for it.
Yeah, though I'm like totally accustomed to our climate now, and it does not get nearly as cold, and I'm happy about that.
That would be nice. That's during the winters here. I'm like, oh my God, this is so painful. That's when we start looking south. We've joked how it's like Mexico is probably more my vibe, and I'm trying to learn Spanish and like and all that, but it's very dangerous. It's like incredibly scary idea of living in Mexico, which but so here I am, smack dab in the United States.
Well, good luck with that.
Now you're in your studio. This is where you make all the musical magic happen.
Yes.
Where you're at right now.
Yes.
Very cool. Now, you started as like an artist, like putting out stuff and doing all that. Is that correct? Before getting into the sync world?
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool. And what did that look like for you when you first started like the artist path?
Well, it was kind of interesting because when I was in my early 20s, I was going around the city that's closest to me, and I was making like a little bit of a name for myself, and I ended up getting signed to like a record label, like a little indie one, which means that those cost money. And it was going to be $10,000 for me to record an album. And we were like, I was living with my partner, well, still living with my partner, and we were just young people who had no clue what we were doing and didn't have the money to continue trying to do that.
Right.
And I realized that for the same cost of like making the album with them, I could just, buy a computer, get Logic and all these other things and make as many albums as I wanted.
Amen.
So I started learning how to produce. I wasn't very good at it for a long time, and I actually had a difficult time learning. I figured out later on and got diagnosed with ADHD.
Okay. So that played a role in it.
It definitely played a role, because now that I know that I'm ADHD, I'm able to like put in the correct structures and whatnot to make it easier to learn and make it easier to like have a schedule. But back then I didn't know. So I was just kind of floundering around. And back then, like, there wasn't nearly so many good YouTube tutorials. So I took multiple production courses. I did get better over time. And yeah, that's kind of what got me to be where I was. And I was very interested in this creator called Sides, and she did a lot of Logic Pro.
Yes. Yeah. Someone else said, I think Adrian was just on the podcast. I think he had mentioned, and I was like, I don't know I don't know. And then I popped it up and found out I've been following her, and like that's been learning some shit that she's doing as well. Anyways, I cut you off though. Sorry. I
That's
almost did.
okay.
I almost did the same thing where I was like, I haven't heard of that. It's like, yes, you have. And it's
That's
very
okay.
helpful stuff, like really helpful stuff.
Really helpful tips, and I like how small they are, and I can like save them into folders, her tips. But she had Josh on our XJ Will on one of her classes one day and was like, sync is an option. And I was like, I still want to continue along with my artist thing, but if I can also do the sync music, maybe I can help provide in my little family and have it be a little bit easier.
Right. Absolutely. That's pretty cool. So you saw XJ Will or Josh on that podcast, and then is that where did you just start following him, start picking up tips from him and go in that direction?
Yeah. And then when he got a community and when he got a course, I took both. I've been in Josh's community for 2.5 years now. So, it's been a while.
Well, kind of going back, there's a lot of turns in there to get you to where you're at right now. But going all the way back to the record label that wanted $10,000, they wanted you to spend $10,000. What were they trying to? What did they say they could help you with? That like to market it? Is that what they were offering essentially?
Well, I mean, it was a full deal. So it was like $10,000 for the album and then $5,000 for marketing, and they were
Oh, they
planning
were
a
giving you that
tour.
money.
Yeah. And
Okay, I got
no,
you.
they weren't giving me any money. It was just like for their contacts and everything. We
I
were
see.
going to go on tour for that summer, which would have been cool. And as a contact that I don't have, obviously.
Right.
And I'd still love to do that. I'd still love to tour someday. But I didn't have a way to make it work. We could barely afford rent.
Right. And that's so wild. There are so many, what almost I would say predatory, like labels, quote unquote, out there. There's some really cool indie labels who are really helping out. There's a label here in town that they're a nonprofit. So they raise funds and then help source, artists and bands, that kind of thing, which is really cool to see. But that's so crazy. But I love that perspective though. You saw, I could spend all this money for one shot or invest in myself. And what's funny, I started smiling when you said that because my bass player years ago, former bass player, he actually suggested that before we went into the studio one time. And I was like, nah. And now years later, I'm sure although he's not part of the band, I'm sure he would laugh really hard where I'm like, yeah, I'm putting all this energy now into learning production and doing it. I don't regret it. I learned a lot along that path, the producers we worked with and everything, but definitely know it's time. So with the 10,000 or however much it was, and you started investing your gear, and you go into, you said you hit this wall essentially. I guess you didn't say that, but you figured out like I have ADHD. I have this thing that is kind of hindering you, I guess. What are some of the tools? Like, are there any specific tools that you feel like have helped you through that, helped you focus?
Yeah. So I do a number of things. Basically, it's just like holding myself accountable in some ways. So I have groups that I'm part of. XJ Wills is one of them. And I have another group that I go to called Song Club. We have silent Zooms twice a week where we songwrite. And then one of the people there reviews your songs on Fridays. And it's just nice to like have that feedback. And when I first joined that, I was like, well, I better write a song a week to make my money's worth,
Right.
And so that's what got me going on the consistency. But something like other than body doubling, I love to do sprints, like 20-minute sprints, because you can do anything for 20 minutes.
Oh, I thought you meant like sprinting, like literally running for 20 minutes. I was like, you're sprinting for 20 minutes? How can you do that? I was like, I sprint for like 30 seconds, but sorry,
I mean,
I'm
I
with you.
go
So
for
like kind of setting up a timer and rocking it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on.
I do think a big part of my process is like I also have set times for doing everything. And like I have a very rigid-ish schedule. Nothing is timed, but I do the same things every day. Like a big part of it as well is like refueling, listen to music, I go for a walk every single day, and that just like helps me to intake music and get inspired. I also like to read books, and that like motivates me and gives me inspiration. So it's just like a lot of doing the same things every single day. I also collaborate a lot, and I don't like to leave collaborators waiting.
Right.
So having collaborators makes it so that I'm more likely to finish something.
Well, I like that too, just building in that the hard accountability of some other human being like, okay, bro, like what are we doing now?
Yeah.
It's been helpful when I joined the Sync Alliance and thinking, especially now that we have feedback sessions on Monday and Wednesday, it's been a really helpful thing of just knowing like, okay, I need to have a track for this. This is just what I have to do. And, and it basically forced me into producing more, where it's like Tuesday night, or I think it was Monday night, I knew I wanted to get out something, but I wouldn't have time Wednesday. So I was like, I just got to stay up till like midnight. I stayed up till midnight. So I knew I could post something and get feedback because that's the only way I could grow. Yeah, those things help a ton, a huge amount. Do you use like medication or anything like that helps as well? Or do you find these things have been useful enough?
All my health stuff is like very rigid at this point. I was on medication, and then I started getting like my heart began skipping beats. So I had to go off of it, and then I had to
Like, not
discover how
good.
to deal with ADHD naturally.
Right.
And it's been like a whole process, and it ties in with a lot of like other health things that I've been doing. Health has been a big focus the past 2 years. And so I had to switch to like a high protein diet, which I had to do anyway for my health problems I was experiencing. I don't have sugar. I don't have caffeine anymore, which is
That's
really
a tough
hard.
one as I drink my coffee in front of you. I apologize.
No, it's fine. Because again, I was starting to get like a lot of anxiety from it, and so it's like dealing with a lot of things naturally, and then I microdose mushrooms every couple days, and that really helps.
Okay. That's really cool. That's something I have not ventured into. I have friends that it is part of like their life, and it sounds like hearing their experiences. I'm like, I would love to walk down that road one day. But you're finding it does help kind of keep things balanced for you.
Yeah, it helps to bring the positive aspects of Adderall without the negative side effects. You don't have to increase the dosages nearly so often. There's also a huge difference between microdosing mushrooms and like mushroom trips.
And doing the full, like what they call it, the hero's dose or whatever, going hard, going in. And I think some of the people I know, they're doing more like they're going for it. Let's just say, do you feel like it impacts creativity at all for you as far as like the microdosing? Do you notice a difference like in writing than before you were doing that?
I mean, it makes me more introspective, but I think what affects my creativity more, as I said, is like my walks are just like really great for calming me down, reading, and then I journal a lot. So it's like you're constantly drawing on things because I'm mostly like a singer and songwriter. So those are the things I get inspired by. However, because I know production, I also like can pay attention to those elements when I'm listening to music.
It's almost like it's made me obsessive, like starting to learn how to mix and produce and all that. I'm like obsessive with every little song. And there's songs that like I've listened to 1,000 times that I listen to differently now too. Cause it's like I dig in cause I'm more just at my piano. Previously I'd be at my piano writing and singing or at my guitar, writing and singing. But now hearing it's like the whole spectrum and seeing I would want this here, make these changes there. It's pretty cool in that. What are some of the differences for you? Like when approaching sync versus like your artist career, are there any, sorry, I'm trying to like formulate the question, but like, I guess, how is it different? The pursuit of sync versus the pursuit of your artist career right now?
I don't know that there's much of a difference anymore because I've realized that the more authentic you are, even within sync licensing, the more likely you are to find your place. Because like I thought that I was gonna enter the sync world and I was gonna do bubblegum pop, and I very quickly discovered that I hated bubblegum pop. So I don't do that. I found like 4 other genres that I really love and kind of bounce between them. What was the question again?
Essentially, the differences between an artist's career and pursuing sync in general.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that there is more freedom within artists. Like you can cuss, you can write like more specific metaphorical things. I do find that over time I've become good at balancing like being universal but also being personal. So, yeah, I think that there is a difference, but I do find that being in sync licensing helps me to have the togetherness that most artists don't have
What do you
because you
mean?
have to have everything in line, like
Like
with
all the
sync
little
licensing.
details from like your PRO to your contracts to your all that kind of thing instead of
Yeah.
just being an artist floating through life hoping something happens kind of deal.
Yeah. I also find that it makes so that I don't stress about my artist project, really, because like I'm focused on other things. I'm always creating other songs. And I think when you're creating so many songs, you don't really think about your songs that much. But whereas before it used to be like, oh my gosh, this song's going to be a hit. And then it never is because you've only written like 20 songs. Now that I've written like over 100, it's just like, oh, it's a new day, it's a new song, and you don't think about it anymore.
Yeah, I do like that aspect. The idea of volume has always been a passion for me in general. It's because so like the way we would typically do things in the band is I would write 60 songs. Like a
Mhm.
lot of them were just acoustic and guitar lyrics or piano guitar lyrics, that kind of thing. Some of them were like snippets or whatever. But I was trying to stack a ton of them. Then we'd sift it down at that point and choose like 6, from that. So I think that's one thing about sync licensing I like as well is like it it really pushes the envelope of trying to write more and more because I feel like when you do that, your work exponentially grows, like gets better
Mhm.
and better because you learn from each one. Where I know some people, some artists is like the idea of like, I remember I told someone I wrote 60 songs for our EP. They were like baffled. They're like, what in the world? But I'm like, you don't do that. Like, I just thought like, this is just what you do, right? To find a good one, you need to go through all these.
Mhm.
So, but and when when you started into sync, you want to do this like bubblegum pop thing, right? Which is
Mhm.
funny because I in my mind I had an idea of what the sync world would be as well, which I thought I could just do like loops and like EDM loops kind of thing. And I found out real quick. I was like, oh yeah, my idea was not this is not it.
No.
Was that like your first 6 months in it, first year, just trying to fit yourself into the pop world?
It was, and then I kept on having these collaborations where we did like alternative pop or cinematic, and I was like, this is so much fun. And then the occasion where I'd do a pop song, I'd be like, my soul is dying. And I'm bad at it. Like, I'm bad at writing bubblegum pop because, like, I can listen to it and it's fine, but it's different to create songs that you have at least a couple of hours with it, perfecting it. And I don't know, I'm just not good at it. So I
So
had
it
to
was the
accept the
collaborations that informed you though, like, ooh, this is what I do like, those different genres.
yeah. Well, people could see that that's what I do because you bring music to the table and people are like, oh, that's really good. I could see that on like Wednesday or Stranger Things or whatever. And you start to think, you're just like, maybe there is a space for this music that I actually like to create.
Well, and you said a key thing earlier. It's like finding, I'm not going to say it word for word, I guess, but this concept, like if you do authentically what you are passionate about, it will find its place out there. And I think that's huge instead of, and that's where I think in my brain, like I said, I kind of had a similar concept, but with the EDM kind of thing where I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It was actually kind of freeing to find out like, if I tweak this, change this intro of a song I actually really enjoy, that it can find its home too.
Exactly.
Now, the collaboration piece, it seems like that's a huge piece in the Sync Alliance world. And I write collaboratively, I can't say that word, collaboratively. I write together with my band, but we're all in a room. But it seems like all of you guys right now are collaborating from like online and doing these different things. What does that look like? Because I want the collaboration piece too, but I'm just curious what that looks like for you.
Well, I've done more so collaborations with producers. They'll send me an instrumental and I'll write on top of it. That's usually what I do. I haven't done that many Zoom collaborations. I'm pretty shy, like as a human, so I find Zoom collaborations can be very awkward,
Gotcha.
and I'm quite quiet. So it takes a while to come out of my shell. I've started doing more Zoom collaborations with like people that I'm friends with as musicians, but yeah. And I find that a lot of the collaborators I have are in very different time zones. So it's just easier to like have an instrumental and then we'll send like voice messages back and forth about mix notes. I do find that me knowing how to produce, even though I'm not producing as much anymore, it helps me to know what I want with mixes and production and everything. So I think that like even with people who are just singers, they should always learn to produce just to have more power.
Absolutely. I was talking to this producer we worked with previously, and I was telling him, like, dude, when you used to send me mixes, I usually was just like, I don't know what I'm listening for. Sounds good to me. Like, I can hear I was like, bring the vocal up. Like, that's all. I literally had no concept of what I was listening to. And I'm like, now I've learned, like, just learning that process, I think makes me like, even as a band leader, way more attentive. But it's funny you said like the collaboration, different time zones. Aiden was on, and he's in, I believe, New Zealand or something. So it was like 7 a.m. for him and like 1 or 3 p.m. for me. We tried to figure out a time to get, like to put that together, which I think could get even harder when you're piecing that. And so basically so they send you the track, you're doing a top line over it. And then are you just sending them raw vocal? Are you editing the vocal? What's that look like?
So I've been sending them raw vocals. I've recently begun learning how to mix my own vocals just so I can have more freedom and work with more producers. And again, so I can have more control because I know what I like when it comes to hearing my voice. So being able to do it myself, I think will be a superpower.
Are you using Melodyne? Do you use that for
I
editing?
haven't been. I've been using Waves Tune and then like the manual tuning that comes with Logic, which is fine
Is
enough.
that the Flex Time or whatever it's called?
Mhm.
Is that what it is? Right on.
Mhm.
Very cool. Yeah, I was used to seeing Melodyne and seeing people work at that, but it's been tricky, like trying to figure that out. That's, to me, mixing vocals that so far has been the hardest piece for me to figure out. And I think part of it was I'm having to get used to listening to my voice over and over and over again.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Where I texted a friend, I was like, I have a terrible voice. This is horrible. And he's like, no, you don't. Just chill out. I was like, this is horrible. Listening over and over again. It's nuts. So if I hear you right, then you're doing Sync World, right? And but it sounds like you're strictly doing collaborations at this moment, right? Where you're working with other producers, they're mixing, they're putting it in, and then you guys are pitching those.
Yes, I do like on the side kind of passion projects of my own, which interestingly enough, those have gotten really good feedback.
Nice.
Like some of my better feedback actually, but like I have to have on the side artistry projects cuz sometimes you just want a song that's longer than 2 minutes. Yes.
And so working and collaborating with these folks, then how has that been going for you? Or have you guys been able to, are you already like signed to a sync agent or a publisher? What's that look like for you?
So I am in a couple different places. I'm currently in a music library actively, and then because of a collaboration I did, I've also got a song in like Warner Chapel. I'm starting to get these collaborations that are helping me to get into other like sync agencies and other music libraries. And that's the other handy part about collaboration, is that if there's somewhere you want to go and collaborate with someone, and they can probably help you get in.
That's awesome. I love it that because in my brain, like I had to learn all these things just to do this, but it's like seeing there's different avenues like to go. But now you, like you said, you have like all these powers you can use, collaborate or produce or do all the things. So it's still extremely valuable. But I love that perspective of saying like, okay, I'm really good at singing, and why don't I just collaborate and are you writing lyrics? Are you guys writing those together? What is that?
No. And I don't like, I like being able to do my own thing with the lyrics and stuff. I'm fine with feedback, like getting feedback back, but when people are too controlling over what I say, it drives me crazy. So like there's a balance for sure, where it's like if someone really doesn't like a line or they don't like a melody or something, then we talk about that. But I prefer to be left to my own devices. And usually I leave them to their own devices of creativity. Like I'll give a little bit of feedback, because I think that great art gets made when the other artist is like the most comfortable.
Yeah. That back to that authentic approach. And that's writing lyrics with my band. That's been interesting because the last 2 years we've been collectively writing. And there are times where I'm just like, listen, I'm the singer and I have to sing this thing. And it was like the phrase just is awkward in my mouth. Like, I don't know how to explain like why, other than like when I sing it, it's strange. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't fit. So it's like, we have to go this other direction. And it's like, at some point, accepting that as a singer, you have to be able to connect with it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that collaborations can go really good, and they can also go really bad. Like last year, I spent most of it collaborating with different people, and I know exactly what I like and what I don't like right now.
Would you be okay giving an example of like what a bad collaboration looked like?
A bad collaboration is just someone who doesn't communicate. I prefer to have people who like give updates about what's going on with our project. Not anything like too elaborate, just like if you've fallen ill or whatever, like just let me know that you're still thinking of our project and you'll get to it. Also, people who don't listen on like mix notes that you want, because at the end of the day, you both have to be happy with the song that you're presenting to the world. And then I think there's a lot of people, a lot of artists who have a really big ego, and those people are horrible to work.
Yeah. So you run into a few divas along the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's definitely like, I've worked with a lot of really like amazing men, but there's definitely some misogyny in there.
I gotcha.
With certain individuals as well. And I think certain personalities work with different people. Like I like to be very clear and communicate, and I like it to be simple to the point where I don't have to think about it. I don't like feeling like I'm babying someone, or I have to like pull something out of them, or they're just not listening.
It's like, we're both adults. I shouldn't have to like drag you along, and you should be able to clearly communicate to what I'm trying to do. Yeah, it's interesting you bring up like the misogyny piece too, where like my wife has been a big piece of kind of uncovering the world to me that I just never saw as a man, and then I have a lot of friends who are females that are in the live performance world, and hearing their stories, and like where I'm like, as a guy, we often just don't even know that those are things you have to deal with. Like, for example, a friend of ours, she was asking for advice with social media, and we were just like, yeah, you should message people, do this and this, and we're giving her all these tips that we think are fucking brilliant, right? And she just looks at us and she goes, you two, it was me and my drummer, she's like, you two are clearly not females. You have no idea what it's like to walk around as a female artist. Like, she's like, if I tried these strategies, I'm just be opening myself up to like just insanity. So it's interesting and that's from the live world. Like I have some friends where they actually have to have like escorts out of just to keep them safe in that regard, which it's like, I was like, damn, that's insane. But what, if you don't mind, like going in this direction, I'm curious in the sync world, what are some of the things that pop up for you, the misogynistic things, or just as a woman that you feel like is very unique that someone who's a male might not just understand that and probably needs to learn real quick?
Well, there's a couple things. I think it's different for me as like a bigger woman, but that is something that's come up. I've had people like judge me for my body and give unwarranted opinions, which is like never welcome.
Right.
It's never welcome to be commented on your body in a professional setting. Like, no matter what size you are, I think it's very weird. I also think there's an element of sometimes men will think that I'm hitting on them, and I'm in a very happy relationship of 14 years. So it's like,
You're like, bro, I'm here for business.
You're not that interesting to me. You know, like, I'm interested in your work.
Right.
And so it's just like very fascinating. But I have seen a lot of women obviously have terrible experiences where producers want to collaborate with them for other things.
Gotcha. They're using it as they're in, essentially, or the way they view it at that point.
And I know that like Sides is constantly asked if she's single, and she gives Logic Pro tips. Like,
she's like, what about my content is making?
Like, what makes you think that I want these comments? And the other day,
Right.
I thought that it was so great. She had like a Q&A, and someone asked if she was single, and she just put her hand and there was an engagement ring on it. And I was like, that is queen level.
Moving on.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that there's just a lot of like weirdness because I'm a very professional person. And so when other people don't treat it professional, it's weird to me.
Well, that's huge. It's good, I think, folks, for me to be reminded, for other people to hear like the different experiences. Cause like I said, I just went through my life as a dude and never thought about those things. It's like, come to find out, it's like, especially I'm just blown away in the music world, how many women have shared similar stories to that too, of what you've gone through. So that's huge. It's huge for people to learn and grow in that way. What are, with the collaborations, getting into some of these libraries, which is really cool. Have you gotten any placements at all at this point yet?
I had a placement, but I haven't heard anything. It was this very unique situation where I actually got to learn about what the movie was about and create a song based on what the creators wanted. And we were told that we had that, but I haven't heard from them in over a year.
Gotcha. Or does it work like that? I mean, I'm pretty new to in like a year and a half, they get back to you. Is that part of the business?
Yeah. Well, and I know that sometimes things fall through, and it's so interesting when you tell people that you like get a deal and then it doesn't really happen, and people are like, oh, like you need to go and do all these things. And I'm like, it's a different kind of business. It's not like until there's a contract in front of you or like the placement is up, they don't owe you anything. So like, because they can change their mind. This was an independent project, so maybe their funding fell through. Like, maybe the movie's taking longer to make than they thought. Who knows? But I haven't heard anything. And it was a small indie project, so I've just kind of been like, meh, And right now I'm just working on like building out my catalog, because like Josh is a huge inspiration to me, and I see that he has hundreds and hundreds of songs in different libraries. And I'm like, until I have hundreds of songs in libraries, I can't count myself out.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think, didn't he say he had like 1,000 or something at this point? And I'm like, there you go. Hashtag goals. Let's go.
And I know that like Omega has so many songs everywhere. And so it's just like, all these people who are successful in what I want to do, they have these large catalogs. So I'm building out my catalogs and trying to get into sync agencies and different places that will ultimately be better for what I do. Because, yeah, I'm in a couple libraries, Warner Chapel, like a couple other things. So I'm just working on that. It really is like a long game, and people forget that. They're like, how likely is it that I'm going to be making a living within a year? And it's like, not likely. You're just
like,
not.
buckle up. You got a lot of daily work to do. Do you have like a goal like per week or per month right now as far as tracks?
Well, when other people are mixing my vocals, I try to finish between 1 and 3 songs a week. I was sick at the beginning of the year, horrifically sick. And so I've been slow on everything coming back.
I got sick earlier this week, and just that, like, it threw off my whole, like, everything, because all I could do was sleep, and I'm like, this threw everything off. So frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I had severe pneumonia and laryngitis, so I lost my voice for a month and a half.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that. Yeah, that's...
Yeah. So I've had to, like, retrain my voice and, like, re-strengthen everything. And it's also, like, I find a big knock to your confidence and your ego when you're just, like, suffering that much. So, yeah. But I'm working back on it, and like just worked on a song today that I'm super excited about that we're going to be pitching to Riot Games. And so exciting projects are in the pipeline. I'm just working on getting back in the groove of everything, getting back up to speed.
Yeah, finally get to that pace. I know we were talking in the group about that, like the vocals and like learning how to always be ready. We're like, even today at a show late last night, or I had a show and then we went out after the show. So it's like my voice, I probably shouldn't have gone out after the show, because like today I'm like, I can, like, if I had to sing a song today for a recording, I wouldn't be able to. So it's like thinking through all these little realities if I want to be kicking that out, especially if you were getting back to 1 to 3 songs a week. Like that's a lot of recording.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, now luckily, like, my partner supports us financially, so I'm able to just work on music full time. So that does make it easier.
That's awesome though. That's really cool. And then over time, keep building that catalog, get them out in all the libraries. And then, like, I love the concept of building wealth in that regard, where it's like we get to build little apartments that we can rent out forever. Like at this point, it's just getting them in the right hands over time is what it seems like. That's the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Well, and I think the whole thing with sync licensing that I wasn't expecting is that the sync licensing world makes you tough. Like, it does make you tough, because you can hear a lot of crappy things about your music, because
just like supervisors and feedback kind of deal, or
supervisors and feedback can be really humbling. And then, like, you get rejected a lot. So it builds a lot of mental toughness. If you're not a mentally tough person, you won't last.
It's like, it's not the world for you.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you can go and cry about something someone said, or if you're having like a bad artist day, but like, you have to get back up again.
It's like, just make sure you're crying into the microphone and keep singing, and you got another track to kick out.
Exactly. Just use that as fuel for the next song.
There's been days just sitting with my head like on this desk at like midnight because I'm trying to figure out something in mixing, and I'm just like, I'm feeling like I want to break down and cry because I'm like, oh my God. So it's like the challenge of it, and knowing you want to see this thing, like whether it be getting your songs placed, or like at that moment for me, it was just like, I can hear what I want, but I have no idea how to get it yet,
Exactly.
And it's such a struggle. I gave up music for a brief time in my life, and a buddy of mine wanted to hire me as like a sales agent at his company. And
oh my goodness.
I was like, why? I was like, I've never done sales. He goes, dude, you've been in the music. I was in the music industry at that point for several years. He goes, I imagine you're pretty good at dealing with no. And that's all you're going to be dealing with every single day. And I have a feeling, because you're in the music world, you probably are good at dealing with no. And I was like, come to find out, I am good at that. Luckily I never worked for him. I went back to music, but it's a tough world. And a
Mhm.
lot of people have a lot of opinions. And it seems like though, once watching other people's trajectories, like once they kind of scratch the surface, then it's a little trickle and then it becomes a flow after a while. Have you seen
Yeah.
that with other people in the community?
Yeah, I've seen that within the community, and I've also seen it within myself. Like last year, I was in one library, and this year, um, I'm in about 5. So you see growth. You see growth. It just takes time.
Right. On the recording side, what mic are you using? I'm curious. I'm trying to learn how to do vocals way better. But so I'm curious your process, the mic and all that.
So I use an SM7B,
Okay.
and I like it because I don't have to treat my studio. It would be very difficult to treat my studio. And then I do use a pop filter just to get rid of like plosives. I know it has this thing on it, but it's not quite good enough. So when recording final vocals, I put on that. And yeah, my whole setup is pretty easy. Like I just use the Focusrite as the
Do you have
input.
the two? I have the 2i2.
Yeah.
Is that
I
the one you
have
got too?
Yeah, I have the 2. So, and then a big thing I think for my studio and the way that I like to do vocals is environment is really important to me.
Okay.
I like to be
So
really
like
comfortable.
candles and vibes kind of environment? Is that what you're
Mhm.
right on?
Candles, and I have like a million crystals on my desk and like just a lot of things all around me that inspire me because I need to feel safe and like happy to create. It's also a luxury, but this room is just my studio.
That's nice.
And I think that that's great for like, it puts you in the mindset that this is work.
Yeah, I remember
So yeah.
switching to having my own like room dedicated for studio where before we have 4 boys, and before I had my studio set up
Wow.
in the basement where I had to pull like a curtain around to like separate myself, but like the kids would just pop in and out. They're going outside to play, all that. Where finally having my own space is really cool. And it does
Mm-hmm.
it like puts you in a mindset. It's funny you talk about vibes though. Like I do all these different things with harsh lighting and everything, but sure enough, whenever I record vocals, I turn off all the lights. I pop these like blue LEDs that I
Mm-hmm.
find very relaxing. And even in the studio, like in Nashville when we go record, they put on cool little like low light lamps, and there I feel like there is something to it when you're trying to do the actual singing and emotive part to be in that space.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that every musician is different as far as like what makes them comfortable within the studio. Some people literally don't need anything except coffee or alcohol or whatever drink or like food or whatever. But I'm definitely a person that like needs vibes. I need vibes going on.
Yeah, the vibes are huge. So right now, as you look forward to the rest of the year, what are you hoping to see in this upcoming year?
Well, ideally, my first placement would be really nice. And then I just want to keep on working on these projects that I'm working on with collaborators. And I'm going to be venturing into a new genre. So I'm excited
Nice.
about that.
What genre are you going to step into?
New metal.
New metal. Nice. Love it.
Yeah.
Is that a collaborative thing as well?
Yeah. I'm actually working with Aiden on a track right now.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's killer.
So I think everyone's going to be surprised.
You go from piano ballad to new metal, and we're all here
Yeah.
for it. We're all here for it.
So yeah, it's mostly just like continuing to nurture my collaborations, finishing music. I also am working on my online presence because sometimes that matters to sync agents. And yeah, I think trying to balance it all and yeah, learning to mix and just continuing to create. And I already know some of the places that I want to like get into, and I'm working with collaborators to get into. So yeah. That's kind of
It's
my
awesome.
goals, is just to keep going. It's like the most boring thing in the world to say to people, because they're like, what's your day-to-day like? What's all these things? And you're like, I don't do anything. Like, it's the same thing every
Yep.
day.
The sexy
But
life of a musician. What do you do? Like we're sitting here with computer and a keyboard and over and over and over again.
yeah,
Are you performing live at all?
not yet, but I bought a karaoke machine so that I can learn.
Nice. You're training.
I'm training, yep, with my very professional equipment, but you have to start somewhere.
I know somebody who basically has like a battery speaker and that's where they started. Now they tour all over the place doing stuff. So, hey, yeah, like you said, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, well, and I think that'll be fun. And also, like, because I'm an artist as well, I'm working on visuals for my project just to make it like that much deeper. I'm planning on making my music more experimental in my artist world. So yeah, I think it's just going to be a big year of creativity.
It's interesting you said the social presence piece, working on the online part. And that was the meeting yesterday with the supervisor, that music supervisor that came in, where she was talking about she's collecting even on Spotify or she's checking out the videos. Like, I think she said like review videos, like going to YouTube and there's like curators essentially who are telling other people like, check out this band, check out this artist. And I was like, oh man, so it really does. I think that was the other piece for me where I thought it was just going to be a completely separate world where I had to like clean up my LinkedIn because my LinkedIn was just a hot mess of like not focused stuff. I think I still had information up from when I was looking for a corporate job or something
Oh
back
my
in the
gosh.
day. And I was like, I'm gonna have to go clean that up and then actually start putting more content out like in that realm. But it was kind of cool too, because I mean, as a band for us, like that's what we have to do anyway. We have to be online and we're constantly figuring out, like we have rehearsals tonight and we'll be filming content while we're doing that, that whole piece. So are you doing LinkedIn, doing Instagram, or what's the content piece look like for you?
LinkedIn, I've been doing TikTok, and that's where I'm like the most successful currently. I also have found that YouTube Shorts is gaining traction, so I'm probably going to focus more on that as well. Instagram's dead.
You're done with Instagram. It's funny because we do way better at Instagram. We suck at TikTok. Like we got to get our act together. I don't know what's going on.
I can give you some tips.
Nice.
Like, I'm not huge on there, but I know it works.
Any tips you'd share right now? Like quick tips?
You gotta hook people. Like, you've got to make it interesting
Right out the
for
gate.
them. Because you have less than a second before they scroll.
Yeah, we'll have to think through that because we clearly are not doing it correctly because the return is not happening. And is that where like I've noticed those ones where the guy with like a rope, like it's tied to his foot and a car's driving off. Have you seen this one? Is that when you say hooks, it's like things like that and then bringing people into the content as well? Or is it even like text, like right out the gate that might grab their eyes and grab their attention?
It can be text. Like, technically anything can be a hook. Like, if you have a weird background, if you like say something weird, if you've just got to intrigue people, kind of.
Yeah.
Because nobody owes us their time.
Yeah,
And
that's a
like,
good way to think of it.
it's a harsh thing. But I think a lot of musicians get lost in, oh my gosh, my post did so bad. And but is it boring?
And it's hard to admit if it is. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to look at it. And you also have to look at like little trends, because every app is different. Threads is also good with like growing organically right now.
Okay. Yeah, and we really do nothing with Threads. So yeah, we gotta up our game. That'll be part of this year. Got to figure out how to do that correctly.
Yeah. And I think the biggest tip for anyone who wants to do content creation, and it's what like every big creator does, and that's to batch content. So instead of recording 1 to 3 videos a day, you just film 20 videos in a day, and then you do it through the week. And yes, you just change clothes or whatever to make it look like it's different days. Every big creator does it. Like, they can deny it, but that's what they do.
They nonchalantly try to make it look like they're just doing that thing today. Well, that's cool. Yeah, we're definitely trying to figure that out. We had a season where we were doing really well. As early Instagram and early Snapchat were our big ones. And then the band ended. We quit for about 2 years back when I told you I gave up music kind of deal. It's like when we came back, the whole thing had changed. Like it was just a different game than we were playing before. It was almost like if you just showed up, you were doing better than like 99% of the people who are out there, where now the game is a much higher bar, it seems like.
Yeah. I do think you have an advantage in the sense that it's a band. I find it harder, like, as a person alone to engage people. So you can come up with some things that you can do with your band that are like really fun.
Yeah, I think leaning into them. We've done some skits, those kind of things in the past that went well. We just fell off on that. We need to get to it. We need to get on it. Well, last two questions of the podcast based off of the title, Live and Create. So right now in your life, how would you define living a great life?
Living a great life is one, I think, where you're authentic in who you are and living in a way that you can sleep at night. Like you're comfortable sleeping at night and you're excited for the next day. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense, but
is it essentially like if you're living authentically, it gives you that peace of mind to sleep well at night?
Yeah. And like living within your own morals and stuff like that. Because being a human's hard and everyone makes mistakes and you just have to figure out if you can live with yourself at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, we all, even if we have someone, we're going to bed on our own. So you have to figure out like if you're going to hate what you did that day.
Yeah, there's some things I look in culture right now where I'm like, how does this person sleep at night from those choices? Yeah. And that's huge. That's huge to have that integrity of like who you are, like actually live that out and be ethical, like do the right thing.
So I do think that it sums up as like living authentically in your joy and peace.
That's awesome. Well, for the last question, how would you define creating great things?
Creating great things. That's an interesting question. I think that also comes back to like just creating in your authentic power. I think when we're true to ourselves, the most beautiful creations happen.
Awesome. And it's cool that you've been experiencing that even in the sync world, which is, as an artist myself, that's an inspiring thing to hear. Is like, if we really can grab a hold of that, it will find its place. So let people know if you want them to. Well, probably for collaborations, those kind of things, if people want to reach out and collaborate and check out what you're up to, how should they reach out? How should they connect?
I mean, you can reach out to me at basically any social media platform at Kotarah, which is Kotarah. And yeah, if you find me there, we'll make something work.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again for the time.
Thank you.
And
thank you for listening to the Live and Create podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe and leave a comment or a review.
The Live and Create podcast.